Hey everybody, this is Homeless Bell, and right now I'm doing a little tutorial video on how to get started with MechWarrior Online. I've been playing since the beginning of open beta, and hopefully this will help you sort of get acquainted and get comfortable without feeling too overwhelmed. So first, I'll go over the interface real quick. Your home page has like all of their offers and deals and some news and stuff. And then you've got the important stuff, which is your 4 mechs. You can switch these out at any time. These are just sort of your 4 hotkey mechs that are right here on your home page. You can have as many as you want. Default, you only have 4 slots to buy mechs, and then you have to buy more with MC, which is the in-game currency, or rather the real money currency. So then there's the Mech Lab Tab. The Mech Lab Tab shows you all of your mechs, all of their stats. Right now we're looking at the trial mechs. There are always 4 on rotation as of the recording of this video. We don't have any own mechs to begin with. We have no money, no XP, nothing. So we'll have to earn that with our first few matches. In here you can sort of see at a glance, you know, tonnage, firepower, heat efficiency, armor. And then you can see what kind of equipment they've got, what kind of engine, heat sinks, if they have jump jets, this sort of thing. Yeah, all of this interface will be undergoing a massive overhaul in a couple of months, but this is what we have to work with now, and it works all right. Normally, we could customize our mech with the loadout modules, camo spec, and cockpit items, but because we do not own these, we cannot customize them. Until we buy our own, we really have no control. The pilot lab over here is something we'll talk about later, but essentially it's where you unlock boosts to certain mechs. You know, for instance, they run cooler, or they can turn faster. You know, they power up quicker, or they get an extra module slot. So we'll talk about that later when you actually have a mech and you have some XP to worry about. For now, we're going to worry about getting our options set up correctly. So go ahead, you know, pick whatever resolution you want. I think this is what I'm going to be running. I'm going to put it on full screen. I don't really want motion blur on. I'm going to turn on very high, but here's something I recommend for you, is turn post-processing off, because they have some strange blur effect that makes everything about 600 meters out start to look fuzzy. I've never really liked it, so if you want to see things off in the distance clearly, I would turn that to low. So just something to think about. Then you've got some control options that will definitely affect you. Starting in third-person view, you can toggle this in the game at any time. You might want to start out with this just because it might be easier to get oriented moving. It is like steering a tank. Consider having that on, at least for now. Unless you're using a joystick, and you shouldn't be. I really wouldn't worry about this. Throttle Decay means when you stop holding one of the movement keys, you stop running, sort of like a regular first-person shooter. This might be handy for you to get used to. The other way is essentially like you set a throttle and it just keeps going at whatever speed you set it at. So your preference, Throttle Decay is probably easier to get used to. Arm lock. Essentially, you'll see this when you get into the match, but you have 2 reticles, one for your arms and one for your torso, and your torso just follows as fast as it can behind the arms, and so it's a little disorienting at first, especially since the arms can often go further than the actual torso can, so you might consider having that on at first, but I definitely encourage you to check out turning it off later. It gives you more precise control. Aiming doesn't feel quite as weird. So I'm turning that off. I turn my sensitivity way down. I just know this is what it needs to be from my mouse. And then I'm going to leave their controls alone. You can look through them. I encourage you to know what certain things are, like how to power up, power down, how to lock on. It's very important. Think about knowing one of these keys, the center torso or center legs, is essentially because you steer like a tank where you can turn one way or another. It's easy to get oriented by just pushing one of these keys and having one snap to the other. So C or F, remember one of those. It's a good thing to have. I would definitely rebind your fire groups. I don't like how they have it set up. I fire Mouse 1 on group 1, mouse 2 on group 2, and mouse 3 on group 3. That's just me, but I really don't like how they have it set up default, so just think about it. You will have multiple weapon groups in most of your mechs, pretty much all of them, so think about setting it up in a way that's easy for you to fire. Everything else I recommend you look through, but in the interest of time, we're just going to sort of skip over that. Look through it, know your chat keys, know targeting, etc. And so now we are ready to drop into the training grounds. I recommend you try out the movement tutorial that's out right now to get acquainted with moving. And then in the next video, we're going to go ahead and drop into the testing grounds and try some combat basics.